Hey guys, my name is Stina and welcome to my knitting podcast. Today is my first ever YouTube video and therefore also my first ever knitting podcast. So please bear with me. I will try to do it as smoothly as possible, but you never know what's going to happen. As I mentioned, my name is Stina. I live in Gothenburg in Sweden. I just really felt the urge to start sharing my knitting journey, becoming a part of this amazing community that is the knitting podcast world. And yeah, I would love it if you would like to follow along. If you hear any weird background noise, that's my miniature poodle Linus, trying to steal the attention and also wanting me to focus my attention towards him instead of my phone. Anyhow, today I'm wearing something that I crocheted. I think it's almost 2 years or 1.5 years ago now. I will insert a picture so you can see like what it looks like when I stand up. But yeah, I really wanted to combine like the granny square cardigans and square cardigans that you see all the time, but trying to make it look more like a jacket or an oversized shirt, because that really fits my aesthetic and my style. But let's jump into some finished knitting objects. Since this is my first video, I thought that let's just talk about the ones that I have finished so far this year. So what I have done so far this year is first of all the mussel burrow hat by Isolde Tig. This one is made out of drops air in this lovely like sage green color. It's a quite thick yarn, so I got a quite thick hat, and that caused me actually some problems. Since the fabric got so thick, the length in the recommendation of the pattern was not enough. I think you get like you need more fabric to fold over this thick fabric. So this was my third attempt of the mussel burrow hat, and I finally reached like a okay point in length. I want my hats to fit quite snug to my head, but I still want that big brim to make it feel cozy and warm enough. But so yeah, the yarn was good for that, but I did have to knit way longer than I thought I would, and also stretch it out a lot while blocking it. But yeah, I really enjoy that it's a double layered hat. It's great when it's windy, it's great when you have the cold winter days, as we do here in Sweden. Quite pleased with the end result. This was a scrap yarn project, so I didn't have more yarn. I couldn't make it any longer even if I wanted to, without buying new skeins. So yeah, it's okay. I'm happy with it. If I were to do it again, which I am actually doing, I would make it a tiny bit longer. Next up is also a hat, and this is the Basset hat by Nabita Yermi. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I actually came across this pattern scrolling on Instagram, and I just thought it looked so cool. It's also a green hat. It's also made by drops. I will show you the yarns in just a second. But it has that fold up, you know, front brim cap looking thing. I don't know what to call it. These that goes on over your ears. You can tie it under your shin, or you can tie them up for a more like spring appropriate look. But yeah, I really enjoy this pattern. It was so cool. But it did turn out a bit too big. I think it's because I didn't meet gauge, so I freestyle a little bit and it got too big. And I used Drops Flora and Drops Kid Silk. This is color 23, and I really like the green nuance of this one. And the reason I chose these yarns was because of the color. I did 2 strands of Flora and 2 strands of the silk mohair. If I were to do this again, I would probably skip the silk mohair. As I know, a lot of other people think it's quite prickly. It's not very nice to have next to skin, and I think like the forehead could be a bit sensitive. So yeah, I love the colors, but I would skip the mohair for the next one. I have also finished a vest number 5 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And I just realized that I forgot to bring it out to you guys, so I will insert a picture. This one I actually made from a yarn that is meant to be a blanket. So it's called the Viking Pleddigarn, and it's self-like striping, or it changed colors, so that was not perhaps something that I wanted to put a lot of energy in to match up the colors. So I do have a kind of harsh line in the back going on, but it was just something that I felt like it was a bit fun to do in these kind of boucle yarn, and yeah, the end result is okay. The pattern was really easy to follow, and it does have pockets as well, but I skipped them in my version of it. And lastly, I have finished the Zipper Sweater Light from Petite Knit. And it didn't turn out the way I wanted. So I think it was a great project. I think the end result looks good. The pattern was okay to follow. The zipper was not like super duper hard to put in there. I don't think I follow the instructions though. I just freehand from my like previous sewing experience and so on. But what did bother me a bit was that it turned out a bit too tight on like the upper body and around the shoulders. And I did not meet gauge, and therefore I had went up 2 sizes. So from her like sizing chart, I would be knitting the size number 1, but I went up 2 sizes to accommodate for me not hitting gauge, but it was still not the oversized filling that I wanted. So I actually gave that away to one of my very dear friends when we celebrated her birthday, and I really hope that it fits her instead. The Zipper Sweater Light I made in this yarn combination. So again, with the drops mohair, and this was in the color 12, and I paired it together with Viking Garn, Alpaca Picasso Tweed. I'm going to give you a closer look of that one. The speckles or the tweed parts is quite modest, but we do have some browns, some blacks, and some like beige or brighter ones. Next up are my whips. I have 3 at the moment, and I will go without any particular order. I'm just trying to like design my own sweater, and my thought process with this is that I will have a fold up stand-up neck, so therefore I have knitted it double, but I have yet not to fasten it down, and then I have a very like common raglan construction going on. In my raglan seams I'm doing garter stitch, and I'm thinking that that is something that will reappear later on in the arms as well. We will see how that turns out. I'm gonna move this one closer so perhaps you can see some of the texture, but it's really hard with black fabric. Anyhow, I'm knitting this with Drop Stacy in the color black, and since I have figured out that perhaps mohair is not my favorite thing, but I still wanted some other yarn to make this very, very stretchy and soft fabric a bit more sturdy. I decided to pair it with Sannes Garn alpaca följetråd. So this is super, super, super thin. And it is a bit fluffy, like it has some halo to it, but it's also very soft, and I do not feel like it's prickly at all. And also when you feel like the finished fabric, it's very different from when you have used the mohair. So I'm really happy with that solution and with this combination of yarn. I think, as I said, the följetråd or the follow along thread, it does lend some stability to the drops superwash merino. I think it will be nice. My next work in progress is the Levitate wrap by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and this is really awkward to like show and hold up. I have gotten pretty far with this one. The only thing that I have left is making the double knitted brim and the wrap to tie it with. And when I reached that step, my motivation dropped a bit. So I will soon go back to do this, because this will be a very, very, very warm piece. And we are getting closer to spring. So if I want to use this season, I will have to finish it really soon. As you can see, I'm using different yarns, and the gray one that you can see, it's actually two strands of drops brushed alpaca silk. This one I prefer way more over the kid silk. It is a bit thicker, it doesn't have the same glow, but it's so much more softer to the skin. The other yarn that I'm using is actually carpet yarn, I would say. It's from this big boy. So this was a 2 kilo carpet yarn cone that I got when me and my friend visit a place called Kasthall. They do their own carpets, and with the leftover yarn they sell those in cones in their like storefront. So this is a 100% wool. It's quite rustic and quite like sturdy. A garment with only this yarn will probably not have a lot of drape. So therefore I thought this was the perfect yarn for my next work in progress. My next work in progress is the Nomad jacket combined with the Double Trouble kids jacket from Wool and Beyond. This is also in a bit of an awkward place to show, but I have done the double knitting for the back and then the whole back piece, and just started on one of my front pieces like this. And as I mentioned, I have combined 2 of Wool and Beyond's patterns for this one. I was thinking that this carpet yarn would be perfect for a jacket, because I do want it to be a bit more sturdy and rustic. But what I did not think about was that the Nomad jacket is made with honeycomb brioche stitch. And this very, very sturdy yarn did not look good with that type of stitch. So therefore I combined her kids version that is actually made from garter stitch instead. So I'm making the adult version, the Nomad jacket, but with the stitch from the Double Trouble kids jacket instead. So far, I'm actually not so happy with the result that I have gotten. The double knitting turned out okay, but again, it's a quite difficult yarn to work with. It has no stretch whatsoever, so every like little mistake you make or every small tension difference that you have. It's very apparent in this yarn. And since this yarn is like so tubular and so it's like spaghetti, you know, it doesn't have any fluff, it doesn't level out. It gives a quite see-through fabric with the gauge that I have on my, let's see, 4.5 millimeter needles. I am actually debating if I'm gonna rip this whole back session out and do it all over again. But yeah, I want to take some time before I make that decision, so that's why I started on the front side, and we will see what will happen. Yeah, we will see. I really, really, really love the finished object, so I do want this jacket. We will see what I will do with this thing. I think that I will do a lining for it and just go buy some fabric to line it with, to make it more like comfortable to wear. And also I think with those kind of linings that has some sheen to it, it will be easier to wear it over other clothes. The fabrics won't like stick to each other. But I'm gonna wait to buy that, because when I am finished with this one, I'm gonna dye it. So I actually bought some dye from Rit in a color sage green, and I will dye this once it's done. Since I don't know how much yarn I will use, I figured it would be more convenient for me to dye it as a finished object later on. We will see. A bit of experimenting here as well. My final and fourth work in progress is another Musselburgh hat. And obviously I have learned nothing because I'm using mohair again. But I just really, really wanted something in this shade of blue, that really vibrant cobalt blue. I went to a craft shop, I would say, called Selfmade. They have a lot of yarn, but also very much like fabric and things that you would need for sewing. They have buttons, and it's a really lovely shop here in Gothenburg. And the only yarn that they had in the color that I wanted was the Freya Fluffy. So this is 60% kid mohair and 40% acrylic. And this 50 grams ball is about 150 meters. So yeah, mohair again, but I do love the color. And I have gotten a bit along my tube. This is not at all as thick of a fabric as my first one, made with Drops Air. So I don't think that I will have to do as long of a tube as I did for my first one, but we will see. This is just really very nice to have with you, like when you go to a cafe or if you're having meetings. I work a lot from home. I can just have some mindless knitting, don't have to think about what I'm doing, since I'm only doing stockinette in the round. So yeah, this is my mindless project at the moment. Now to the most fun part. At that same carpenter shop, I also got this one. It's 2 kilos of banana silk. Never heard of it before. It's super, super soft. It does have some sheen to it. I have so many plans for this one. Mostly I would say that I have 2 things that I want to design myself, that I'm very, very, very excited about. And then perhaps some patterns that I want to buy as well. But I want to make super oversized t-shirts with 2 different types of color work in them. So we will see how that turns out. I do have some the same that one Ritz eye. I do have a black one as well. Planning to do a white version and also a black one. And the black one will have white color work, and the white one perhaps will get green color work. We will see. I think that's it. Okay, well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for bearing with me during my first video session. And I wish you all a great day. I hope that you have a lot of fun knitting to look forward to. And yeah, hopefully I will see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.